Hello everybody, this is Tazlon. Welcome aboard the Train of Thought, where we look at various concepts and transport fever and kick the bull off the tracks. You will have nothing to beef about because we will not steer you wrong. So what does the flat terrain results show us? Number one, if you're only going to run a short train, a single short train, meaning 6 cars or less, going with a single engine is the best idea. The reason is that the single engine can get the train up to speed fast enough that putting a second engine on it or splitting it into two even shorter trains with single engines on each of them, they don't have enough room to make a difference. They can't get up, by the time they get up to speed, there's only a very short distance left until they reach the point that the single engine train gets up to speed. And so they can't make up the difference in their operating costs in that short little space of track. However, if you're going to run 8 cars or more, it makes economic sense to switch to either a single train of 8 cargo cars and double engines, or split it in half and run 2 trains of 4 cargo cars and single engines. And furthermore, as you get bigger, and if your city capacity can handle it and your demand is there and you run even longer trains, what this is showing right now is that on starter routes, I'm talking about starter routes with flat terrain, and you're going to run at least 8 cars, it's actually the most profitable to run short single engine trains 2 at a time. So if you're going to run 8 cargo cars, you have 2 trains of 4 with single engines on them. That is outperforming a train of 8 cars with double engines. Just as the 10 car train with double engines didn't do as well as the twin trains of 5 cars and single engines. Even though you spend more money up front to double track, and you have to take out an additional loan in almost every case. In every case we've done now, the twin cars have had to take out an additional loan. You end up paying it back quicker. And it's all because you let the first train go out, and when it gets almost to the end of the route, you put the second train out, and it already has cargo waiting on it. So you jump the gun. You're getting a head start on getting your whole system up to peak capacity, and it just performs better financially. Again, this only applies to a starter route where you're taking out loans and you have no product anywhere along the line, you haven't established demand yet. Because I think we're going to find out later that if demand is already established and that advantage is gone, that the two setups perform exactly the same, and when you add more trains onto the track, the twin engines are probably going to run into other trains and cause more slowdowns than the single longer train will. But again, haven't tested it yet. I certainly wouldn't have thought the setup that won here was going to win. So when I move into later phases in this whole test, I may find out that what I thought was going to be best there isn't. I don't know. So we just have to take it as we go, and then just take the results at face value. And because we're watching them unfold before our eyes, hey, for startup lines with more than 6 cars starting out, 8, 10, and I assume higher, the split trains with shorter cargoes, loads, and single engines for two of them beat a longer train with double engines. Now, because the demand for Visalia wasn't large enough to test out cargo trains of 12 cars, what I'm going to do next, and this will be the last portion of phase one where we're looking at startup lines, is I'm going to just hunt through random maps until I get one that has a city size of like 260 or more, maybe higher, hopefully higher, and a decent starter route on flat terrain nearby. And then I'm not going to use the single engine train because it can't handle these long loads. As we've seen, the single 10 it completely fell off on performance. So even including it in a test with larger cargo amounts is just a waste of time. We already know it's not going to come close to winning. So why waste our time doing it? But I'm going to take and look at probably starting with 8 cars. Well, here the 10 performed the 8, so it's a different map that'll be coming up. I think I'll start with 8 and do double 8 and twin 4s, then double twin. You know, that's really a wasted step. I'll start with double 10s and twin 5s, then do double 12 and twin 6, double 14 and twin 7, and I don't think I can, well, with these initial cars, I should be able to put 16 on the track. So I'll go all the way up to double 16 and twin 8. Because I really want to see if a single, with the twin cars of 7 apiece, if they're going to outperform the 8s. And the reason why is if you look here, when we ran the test with just the single engine, the single 8 outperformed the single 6. And I'm wondering if the 7 is like peak efficiency, did it outperform 8 or not? And we'll be able to find that out in this test, because when I do the twin trains for 14 cargo load, I am running basically 2 single 7s at once. And so when I move on and do the 16 cargo cars, we'll be able to see if that outperforms, if 14 outperforms 16. And if so, we have our sweet spot for the ultimate starter capacity. And that's going to help a lot determining, I know for me, and how I start up trains. Because I'm perfectly willing to take out another loan if I'm going to get more money back more quickly. And at the same time, if I know now, at this point, adding more cars is going to retard my financial growth, then here's the sweet spot. I'm going to stick with that. And that may pair up really well with, like I said, a lot of people say between 6 and 7 is the ideal amount. Maybe we're about to find out 7 is the sweet spot. But I don't know. We're going to test it and see. Maybe I'll find out 9 is. Don't know. So that's going to be the next phase coming up. I don't know if it'll be within the next day or two, because I have to find a nice starter city to really set it up so I can run it accurately. I want to get it flat terrain and enough of a demand in the starter town that it can handle a lot of cargo coming in. And I know it doesn't always apply to every map you play, because the odds of finding a situation like that are small, but for me it's just a nice to know thing for when I do get the opportunity to start with a really big city. Now I know the exact best train configuration to use, and I already know that when I get the smaller cities like Visalia here, going with 10 cars, splitting it up between 2 trains to where I'm running twin trains of single engine and 5 cars is by far the best. It outperformed the double 10 by almost $300,000, and that's a significant advantage. So So that's what I'll be looking to do in the future. Um, and I have the advantage of later on, my track's already double tracked. I don't even have to add that. And if Visalia grows and I need to increase capacity, it's a lot easier to do when I have two trains in motion already. It gives me way more flexibility to add the exact amount of cars I need to match Visalia's demand. So I really think, and this surprises me, I know I didn't think this would be the winning train, but the twin trains with larger amounts of cargo are the way to go. So I am going to go search for a map that can test this a little bit further, and I'll be back.